as well, that overlap of where the talent really does have the sort of line in the sand, right? Of how much some of the up-and-coming players are going to excel, prove a point here, especially on the first day, if there was a good time to do it.
This is the thing, to be a veteran, and that's good.
Whereas if you have a slow start, you're a little bit shaky, you're looking back on the first game, by the time
have some success here, if they're
same place.
And this is what we were talking about. We didn't expect teams to resolve these. We thought that we'd see them putting the
earlier send on a path in from the north side down towards Kampong here. Going to see exactly where some of these teams go. Northwest Island probably open the quickest right now as we see teams hop out, send on over, skydive down towards their positions. We also got Alter Ego jumping through towards that northwest side. They like to take control of the high ground earlier on. A very similar drop to the guys from Gladiators, so they're going to have to fight for their place here. Already off the rip, we've got a knock coming through over towards Hatin, I believe. So 2 hot drops occurring in the same place.
And this is what we were talking about. We didn't expect teams to resolve these. We thought that we'd see them putting the punches down early, and already that's coming across. A few knocks established, and this is shaky. This is the difference between establishing early points to start things off in a group versus going out with absolutely nothing to be set blank, and it's looking a little bit nasty already.
Absolutely is. We're getting fighting all over the place. Falak's already down, their star player on the side of IA, and it's continuing to go off here. It does finally finish. I think IA survive in this situation. We got another hot drop here between Mad Bulls and the Falcons. They love their drop here over towards the ruins, gives them a lot of options, but so many hot drops at the start of the day. Everyone's trying to claim some presence here on the short-term sprint that is this first initial stage of the league.
Oh, this could be ruined early on for Mad Bulls. It's not looking great from the start. Already looking a main man from the roster. Frozen and Zerich trying to play off each other's contact here and slow it down a little bit, keep themselves out of trouble for now and keep their noses clean, but they are being hunted. Falcons, if they were able to take Mad Bulls entirely out of this one, straight away off the back of the hot drop, it would be grotesque. It would be so damaging to the confidence of Mad Bulls to start it off. Like you're saying, that would literally be the roll up the newspaper, throw it out the window and forget about it.
I mean, for Mad Bulls as well, already been down to 2 players. It's super unideal for yourself here on Sandhawk. You're not really getting much done about it. Great molly down the stairs there from 6. He's performed very well over in PMWI, finding a lot of opportunities for this team. Another nade, banks it off the wall. That looks pretty good. There is a retreat in play.
Chasing him down now in the close quarters engagement. Zerich with 1, but the trade back is more than enough to get the job done. Getting his back on his feet. And that's the way it goes. Mad Bulls struggling to find anything on the hot drop then. So the ego challenge, that one paying off with Falcons flying ahead, already finding the 4 elims, joining IA off the back of closing things down on the initial clash.
Gladiators and Alter Ego though. Things have gone a little bit awry over towards this side. Gladiators not actually in as good of a spot as you might think here with Matic and Sixy. No meds available. Very minimal HP, so those initial shots will count for a lot here. Pajiza Evos, Lynx, takes down Kissu from Malise on a short rotate. He's on a very south scout at the moment for this team, but has eliminated one of the players that might have caused them a little bit of issue in the future.
It's a nice find for him. And he can keep his nose clean now. Back off a little bit. Play for the scouting mission that he wanted to be on. We've got a fight developing as well. As you can see, Loop struggling on this one. The compound control working well for Reject Tokyo as the first shots will land. Nades rolling in through the windows to at least keep them uncomfortable. But Loops, off the back of losing the first squad member, do retreat from this, realizing it's not a fight you really want to instigate.
That's going to leave. Get out of dodge. I mean, Reject still have Sara up towards Trifecta at the moment. He needs to come on down. For Loops Esports, an unideal scenario, but at least they can get into Pi 9, get situated from that top side. Yeah, you might even get stopped by Stalwart, who are already making their move out from boot in your pug games at home.
It's kind of what I was hoping for as well. I know for the grand scheme of things, it never into our opening game being confident. Okay, we've been able to shut you guys help an awful lot. In fact, if we miss
Falcons, you're 100% right. They're taking Ruins off the hands of Mad Bulls on the first Sandhog is a really big deal, because this has been a place that Mad Bulls have dominated in for a long time, and I think that's sort of the reason why they lose this engagement. It's because no one's really challenged them for this spot. They've been too afraid to. So it's nice that the Team Falcons, they spread their wings, and Carrillo moves up, but immediately spotted here by Shopper.
on the backup though, it's the nade that does the damage up close and personal with the DBS, trying to take pot shots as the vehicle drives on by. Not looking great for either side, but the amount of damage inflicted between them both. At least got info from the knock player. Spam back from Earths, connects on the runaway. Not looking too great now for A7, but could be a turn on the card, Blank. At least being able to put some thunder down range from the high angle they've got, and they do connect back onto Earths.
R&J is able to get a little bit done, but I think that's about it realistically. Both these players should get back up on their feet, but really aggressive play coming through from Alpha 7. And this is sort of what we were having a conversation about as well, Jackie, earlier on, is the fact that you get into a close quarters fight with Alpha 7, that's where their mechanical skill really starts to shine a lot. It gets difficult to deal with. The fact they just rocked up DBS out the side of the car, quickly mopped up a few players. By that point,
It as well already.
He's lose a player, Loops were lost. We had quite a while.
Sat there kind of feeling a bit, disheartened by the fact that you've been knocked out immediately. It can mean that you slow roll throughout the rest of the day. So this is another one where Mad Bulls, once we get onto those Erangals thinking towards the future, again the pressure's on. How quickly are you going to be able to activate that roster?
Yeah, and that is the big thing, right? Because you come off the back of this match, and we didn't talk about it too much because it shows you can just toss out the window. I'm going to keep saying it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you are losing a lot of momentum. You're losing that warm-up game, right? And I think a lot of these teams are feeling a little bit cool coming into this first match. So you're 100% right. It's a massive deal going into the rest of the day. So I do think that this is something that probably will cause problems for our two teams that went out early in Quest as well as Mad Bulls. They're not going to feel too happy going to that angle, and that's where you just have to turn it online, right? You have to rev the engine, get it to sputter a bit just to get into things. You might have to damage, but that's what it takes to get a little bit further into this tournament. That's what it takes. That's the cost at the end of the day. Western Circle still, where we look at teams start to group up a little bit more, a little less fighting going on, but it is Pajiza Evos over towards that northeast side. Moving down, easy first pick, then going into a 4v3 later on, really sets you up for a great ideal fight.
Right, you can't afford to lose out on this one here. We know some of the names on this roster, pound for pound, they have got big talent behind them, a lot of history here. So to go down early, it would be a struggle. Utilities being pulled out though. Pin pulled there early on for Lewis, dashes it over and it does connect. That's nice. You've now got the two knocks across. Redface obviously very low in terms of the ability of him even being brought back into the fight. And they can just go for the quick getaway. They've actually played this one pretty nicely.
Yeah, it's a really smart move coming there through Malise Esports. I mean, you know what you need to do in that situation is a case of, look, we get that first knock. We're at a disadvantage here. If we continue to fight this fight and try and move into the circle, we're constantly going to be on the lower ground. So well done to Malise Esports, immediately knowing after that knock on the nade, just get in the UAS and get gone. So very well done. For Evos, though, I think that what you were talking about is kind of the story of that entire engagement, right? They had to finish it up quickly because time is not on their side. Malise Esports able to actually overtake them, leapfrog them. That north side of the circle no longer is as safe anymore to get in because there's going to be players in towards bootcamp. There's going to be players watching from the valley where currently Stalwart's playing over towards that location. So Evos maybe taking that too slow there, not being as confident as we might like. Tiamba, on the other hand, sort of stuck on the edge of the coast over towards Trifecta. They want to move further down, but this is a difficult position to push.
Yeah, you are trapped at the beck and call of Blade, really. I mean, even if you're going to attempt to advance out from this, there's utility on either side, sure. Not looking great, though, when it comes to smokes, and defensive utility would be the one boon that you could potentially have to get out of a rough spot like this. Instead, like you were saying, you're just kind of at their mercy. You've either got to try and go for a bit of a group push on this one, swing off each other's contact and see if that will buy you just enough time to bypass, but you are surrounded, really, and it's not looking great. At least a little bit more space to Blank.
Holding down. Oh, they want to get over towards their compound. They can't realistically swim it across because it doesn't lead them to too ideal ground, and most likely also Rego's going to take shots their way. Circle moves up towards the north, though. Really interesting circle we are seeing here. Stalwart have a massive chance into this game. I love their position here. Xavier might be a bit of a problem for them in the near future, but I think that as they leave outside of boot camp, there is some ideal angles to be taken there. But it is that south side which is massively blocked up right now, so Stalwart needs to start clearing some space.
This was the rotation we've been waiting for. Obviously, for quite a long time, EVOS had been on the back foot, and it felt like they were really uncomfortable on this one. It was the smarter play from Lewis and Co. as they pushed up, took control of the compound after getting away from the fight they had inside of the blue. Now the spacing comes back. Redface was brought back into the action, and they're at least putting the pressure on. Utility is there for them, but because of how much they've had to waste to reset off the back of the previous engagement, you're looking at some dribs and drabs. It seems like across the board, really, if they do not survive off the back of this one and find a way to encroach onto that compound, you're not going to have much to work with. And there is more barrels coming over and honing in on your angles as well. This is looking like we could have a bit of an intense freeway encounter on this. Redface with a dive across, not quite bunny hopping on that one as he is sprayed down.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous shot coming there from CEO later, mid-air with the 6X as well. Not easy to pull off, so very, very good shots from CEO later. And he was a real standout for Malaysia Esports in the multitude of tournaments that they played this year. Alpha 7 also similarly moved up from that south side, looked to really choke down the guys from EVOS at the moment. Meantime, Gladiators are losing a lot of players on their side. I mean, they've been beset upon by Stalwart. Now RC's coming in, Loop's also taking shots. But again, I think they are in a position where they can maybe hold on, but with Tixi taking so much damage there, this is getting real unideal.
No, the longer this fight goes on, the worse it looks. I mean, we knew Falcons had control of the bridge from a very early moment onto this game. They felt confident with the way that the fight started. Loops right up in their grill as well, ahead of each other. So at least it's developing into a clash between four of the squads. Cleaning up now going to be the most important factor. Bullets going down range, connecting back on the Mythic and keeping him in check with the space that he was able to take away. It's rough though. You look at the sort of damage we've established there. Gladiators coming into this one didn't feel like they were really able to spread their wings. Now fully taken out of the mission, so not starting it off nicely on Sandhook. And this just continues. The elimination feed is not stopping.
Yeah, it's all over the place, and it makes sense as well because so many teams now have to cross those bridges, get into very open area, and Stalwart's doing what Stalwart does best, which is hold these angles down, really take a dominant position within the circle itself. I love that Toxi's got headed up towards this compound on the eastern side, gives him a lot of safety. He's providing information back across whilst teams move in, and the rest of the boys and Action Nerds and Nicey just maintain control of this high ground. It's fantastic play so far. Xavier is sort of forced to use this bootcamp position to provide them as much sanctuary for as long as possible. What I will say though is this team that's on our screen right now, Tiamba, we have had a look at them over in a little bit of VODs here and there, and for Tiamba they're a very calculated team, right? I think the macro is very strong. They understand how to get into these games. It's not flashy, but it works. And I like the way they leapfrogged across the river, provided backstops for one another, and finally took out the remaining members from Aegon I8. So this is a good rotate from Tiamba, and surprisingly, they've got all four players still up. So I think this is a good game from them, from what was not an easy position.
Oh, exactly. From the point we first saw them, you know, it already looked so uncomfortable. It felt like you were kind of really staring defeat in the face from the opening moments. Instead, though, they've played out the longevity of the game, not feeling forced, not really rushing themselves into a misplay, and it's worked out. For Falcons, it was a great start, But ever since the boys have started to roll up and apply pressure onto them, they've been crumbling under it. Now quite fragmented as well. Being able to actually bypass up here and not being just absolutely annihilated from the positions that are being controlled all around you is not going to be easy. Six also taking bullets down range as that will connect onto him. Just off towards the side as well. Other hyenas effectively lurking, waiting to engage on this one if they want to, because you can see how weak some of these squads are now starting to look.
Yeah, it's starting to get very, very difficult. And Stalwart has just stolen the show this game. You can see how much of a big number Nerzed's been, because he's a great addition to the squad so far. You know, he has really been putting up some massive work. He is a bit more on the chaotic side, I'd say, compared to Action and Top, who are very good in a clutch scenario. But I think that's what makes him fantastic, right? He will just hold the line for you. Currently, he's just facing off against the entirety of Falcons, whilst the rest of the boys are just dealing with all these other angles, slowly but surely clearing out these spaces. Alter Ego, obviously we saw them in their engagement between Gladiators. They got a little bit luckier. They were able to get down towards Trifecta earlier on. I think it was a smart move to make and have got towards the top 7 because of it. I think the most interesting thing, though, is the way that Icy's played from Stalwart. From compound to compound, he's constantly covering the back of the team. So the communication on these lads, it's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, from the amount of fights they're actually being thrust into here as well, the way they're being able to contain their angles is ridiculous. But you say his name and you've sprung him into effect as the pin is pulled and he throws 2 players down to the deck instantly. DX struggling off the back of that one. That's not what you want to be in. Oh mate, suddenly the pressure that's being applied is even more intensified as Icy, yeah, this man is ice cold. There is no sweat on his brow.
It's insanely good, but you also saw that he didn't even try and flush the eliminations. He knew his job, and he performed it perfectly, which is just to hold this position. They know DXavia's got to come out at some point, so he has absolutely rinsed them from this spot. Really, really well done. In the meantime, continues to provide information. His whole job is just to not die, and getting 2 knocks in the process, you know, holding it down, that's fantastic news for him. We'll see if this nade clips him. It does not.
Close quarters though, trying to find his way out of the doorway might be a risky maneuver. Ooh, DBS in the hand. Looking for the quick shot. Look at the bounce across. Lands it as well with a follow-up. Oh, mate. Icy. He's on one.
That was a fantastic haul from Icy, man. He's been all over the shop there. And, you know, we talked about Nerzed at tops, but look, he had backup. He saw action, though, despite everything, running in from the end to try and help his lad. But, again, it wasn't required. Icy's got this on lock on that top side. Alpha 7, in the meantime, though, as 4 players, they've been very resilient here. Up to 7 eliminations. Potato, though, he's still going for Alter Ego.
Potato, can this man punish? Ooh, surrounded at this point, trying to play with the map geometry that he's got, pulling out the SMG. Will it be Sublime? Bullets down, rage quickly. Nerzed still focused on the potential getaway from the last man from Falcons. The DPS as well, looking punishing as Potato gets put back in the ground.
Dear me, right now up to 12 eliminations for Stalwart. They have been absolutely dominant in this first map. Monumental plays coming through backwards and forwards. Duello in the meantime, he's fighting the entirety of Alpha 7. The Japanese squad going hell for leather over here.
As the numbers dwindle, already this intense game leaving us now with what could be the final fight to decide which one gets to taste that chicken dinner coming into Group Green to start us off here. And you're left with a 4 versus 3. Map control, it's got to be said. It is Stalwart. They're playing it to a T, living the name here.
And I mean, the way they've controlled this map as well, you saw they put a lot of emphasis towards this side. They used this outpost before, mainly as a scouting position, but they wanted the high ground when it came to that end game. So everything is part of their grand design here over on Stalwart. Senab looks to go for a peek, but in the meantime, they just realized they're scared, so they're just going to try and move further down. Action with a quick feed, and there's an immediate return from Icy again.
Oh You can see the way they're playing it as well, trying to bait each other out, playing the numbers game, knowing they can trade for one of these players and heating off each other's contact. Icy goes up close, shattered, as he will go down to the DBS, punishing him with a one punch. Low HP though, a not great positional play to work with. Got to pop those heals quick, bullet to the back, shuts down another one. Suddenly we're starting to see Stalwart coming out on top unless one man can make a difference. DBS closes the gap, keeps him in close check, looking for the finishes as well. But this is a rough position to be in, Blank. He's behind the tree and he might be barking up the wrong one.
Just Nerzed versus Mafioso now as the circle begins to close. Nerzed goes for the jump peak.
My God, there it is, coming through in the air. Nerzed shutting it down. And the success coming out, little bit of a celebration as well, and rightly so. I mean, the way that Stalwart played that, you've got to give them props. Individually, Blank, we were talking about confidence being such a big boon, being able to show that extra 15 to 20% that matters most on a big stage like this. I think they went above and beyond. That was maybe 30% power.
That was 30% additional power, right? It really gave it in that first map. And this is sort of an unreliable map to pick up a bunch of points as well. The fact they're able to get 16 eliminations is absolutely disgusting. That's going to set them head and shoulders above a lot of teams, give them a great little buffer. And at the start of the day, you're going to get happy about that. If that is a thing that starts you off in towards that top 3 and at the very least keeps you in great contention to get in towards that top 11. Nerzed here, 1,000 damage, 7 eliminations. You know, he seemed pretty reserved here, but in the game, he was all out.
And that's what matters. If you've got the energy to be able to maintain composure off of the server and really just come out and play your absolute best, well, we can prove that with some of the numbers. The way that they were playing was incredible. Like you said, the whole time, Nerzed was basically the loose cannon that was able to hold down 1v2s, 1v3s, Icy being the point man, defending the back line. This was insane. This was actually a really good display of teamwork and just the caliber of skill that Stalwart have to offer.
Yeah, you're looking at almost 3k damage overall. Like, that is not Sandhook numbers at all. Nerzed barely taking a scratch on this lad. 24.
Everyone's willing to take it.
In terms of being able to get, they're fielding both the twins. Last time we only saw Zuxi. Luxi was not in the mix there. And I think they had a great idea over towards that eastern side of the map. So it just went all a little bit wrong as soon as that nade knock came through. I think this might just be another hot drop on their hands, and IA once again having to deal with loops in another hot drop scenario. See if they win it for the second time.
Oh, keeping the spice coming. The cayenne instantly sprinkled into the cooking pot here for our second game. We'll see where this goes. In terms of the split already, you've got a bit of a 3-1 grouping, so a little bit fragmented depending on the peaks. High ground also taken. Ground loot being hoovered up as quick as possible to establish themselves something to actually battle back with, as this is going to be uncomfortable. Obviously, I8, they had a good go of it into the previous game. We saw when they had a bit more control on their hands, they were able.
It's Brar Esport coming up against
yeah.
DXavier. And I think the thing is with this one, this is the drop that we were the most worried about. Not for Bra, but for DXavier. This is not an easy team to go up against here in Pachinki. And in all honesty, if I'd have watched any of the games from Brar Esports and I was DXavier, I'd be thinking, I don't know if it's worth it, us dropping as Pachinki. I know it's a central position, but versus Brar Esport, who kind of send caution to the wind a lot of times and will just fight you tooth and nail for a position on their side of the map. This might be a position where we see DXavier move away from, and if they don't, I think it will be very detrimental to their overall game.
Feels like at times Brar Esport really can be renamed to the Pachinki Punishers. As
yeah, man, yeah, 100%.
So confident, man. Like the way they play around it, you can see like they go straight into it, honed in, getting into the flow state instantly. Even with the split, you can see it's calculated with how they've set this one up in terms of the control you've got. A lot of high ground, a lot of back entrances being covered, so you can sort of have the overall lay of the land. Yeah, when this one kicks off, definitely want to keep our eyes locked.